Well, I learnt to play the violin, and I've mentioned that
Recently?
Yeah, in the last 5 years. And one of the things that was important was that I felt I was very much in my head quite a lot, and thinking the mind was getting in the way of even just playing. But once I could actually release the mind and keep it quiet and allow the memory, hand memory, to work on the strings, then I actually began to simmer down. And the playing of the violin.
Is that because you were so caught up in the video work and the keyboard and the screen?
No, I think it was all the mental anguish of work and other activities.
So more the stress, not
the stress.
I'm on a screen all day and I'm getting...
No, it was actually, it was the fact that you weren't in control. You thought you were, but you weren't, and you couldn't control the processes that were going on. And your mental attitude.
Different departments. And,
all that. And yet when you suddenly could release yourself through the physical touch of the instrument, and the playing, and actually letting those thoughts disappear.
Hands are so important.
Yeah.
I worked with a violinist on this piece who did a symphony, a 3-part symphony, Dr. Thomas Fitzgerald in Australia, and one of his primary instruments was the violin. And, it seemed so important. And now that I'm trying to get back to my own drawing, which is part of why I'm here in Anna McCarrick, is, I've noticed, well, what do I usually do with my hands? I don't hold a pencil. I do this all day, let's get the code into the smartphone and let's flick through. So it's a completely different hand movement, and I'm considering working in charcoal, maybe with just that hand movement, to see what comes up when your function has changed. The function of that hand has changed. So,
and do you feel in your fingers
I love that.
that you get aches and pains where you didn't before because you're now having to try and draw?
Well, I used to with a hammer when I was in the 90s.
You'll notice I'm left-handed.
I had a day job doing carpentry apprenticeship, if you can imagine, and my father was always, like some... Well, anyway, a lot of Italian and Irish immigrants, we renovate houses over there, and that's what you do when you're trying to resettle in a new place if you can. And anyway, I was always around renovations, so, but there was a time I was hammering a lot. That was really sore. Right. And using a skill saw, very, very different than delicate drawing or needlework. But
And with the drawing you're trying to do, what sort of style of drawing are you engaging in?
I'm engaging in still life drawing, and so observation, but I've always loved collage and drawing from dream life. I've always loved surrealism. I had a very special mentor when I was in my early 20s, just out of my master's program, named Gloria Ornstein. Hi, Gloria. She's just recently retired, and her and her senior colleagues, or senior to me anyway, mentors to me, developed a show called In Wonderland about the female surrealists who saw the doorway to the other world through animals rather than exotifying women as the male surrealists tended to do. And after 6 years of art school, when, there was in the late 80s, early 90s, when really we didn't know about these women. It was quite an eye-opener and so refreshing, and now is absolutely sort of in the pantheon and the canon. Not just Frida Kahlo, who we've all heard about in the mainstream and had the Hollywood movie about her, and I would know her work through Diego Rivera's beautiful murals in Detroit, where I did my master's for 2 years. But it was very important to know about Leonora Carrington, Remedios Varo, and Leonora Carrington had an Irish nanny, a governess, a childminder, I guess, since she was from a big textile family in England. And yet those Irish myths that she grew up with as a child permeate her work, and she's only died within the last few years.
With having done your master's degree in America and with the American influences on the work, how different do you feel that is now that you're back in Ireland? How's that changing?
Yeah, well, even in earth art, the American, and I was in the Midwest, so it was very machismo. I mean, I had a teacher who had a large neck and big shoulders and a beard, and his name was Michael Hall, and it was something for a young woman from Vancouver, British Columbia, you know. And I was teased when I first went to America because I went to school, I got a scholarship in California.
Okay.
And I went to a school right downtown in LA, pre-college, Otis Parsons, and then a small liberal arts school, and then I went to Pittsburgh, and then I went to Detroit. So yeah, different parts of America have their feel, you know, and the Midwest is California, of course, is one feel, and the Midwest is another. So the earthwork in the Midwest is known to be large scale, moving stones, moving earth. Bring out the tractors, you know, call up the guys and get the cement in. And
what colours does that invoke then?
Yeah, what colours?
Yeah, does that invoke colours in?
No, I was very monochromatic. I mean,
it's
interesting. Well, the Lynn Memorial is white on white and has to be, and I felt it had to be for neutral purposes. I mean, nothing in Northern Ireland is neutral, really. Yeah. But it's certainly, and no images. That was important for me. No photojournalist type images. Yeah, that was absolutely part of that process. Yeah. I also looked at art povera from Italy post World War II, and that's very banal colors, you know. And yet, I just met a wonderful curator, Valeria, down in Dublin last week, who's extensively studied that movement, and she's full of all sorts of wonderful ideas, and I'm hoping maybe she'll curate me into something, and that's been wonderful to open my doors into other countries, you know, with people who've researched areas of art that I have, and yet come from a different approach. I mean, she's in her 30s, she's got a completely different approach to women's art, you know, probably doesn't even think of it as women's art, feminist art, just mark making. She's into immediacy or the authenticity, the emotional connection, nature, culture. There's all sorts of debates within the art world, you know.
We have more on the way, so please subscribe to this channel and check out the link below if you'd consider becoming a patron to help us keep making more content. Thanks for watching.